Moldova unfolds quietly in the heart of Eastern Europe, a land of rolling hills, fertile fields, and enduring traditions shaped by centuries of migration and cultural exchange. The journey begins in the capital, Chișinău, where broad boulevards lined with trees lead toward grand Soviet-era buildings, modern commerce, and bustling urban life. Cars, trolleys, and buses glide through intersections while pedestrians make their way to markets filled with fresh produce, honey, and jars of pickled vegetables. Street musicians perform near fountains, adding rhythm to the hum of traffic and conversation that fills the public squares during the afternoon hours as cafes spill out onto sidewalks with tables shaded by umbrellas. In the city centre, museums and theatres introduce the artistic heritage of the Moldovan people. Orchestra rehearsals echo from rehearsal halls, while painters exhibit landscapes and portraits that capture village life. Cafes serve aromatic coffee and pastries to students, office workers, and travelers who watch the afternoon light settle on the facades of historical government buildings. The city's many green parks offer shade, where families gather, children play, and elderly residents debate politics while feeding crumbs to sparrows. Evenings illuminate illuminated arcs of street lamps that stretch along the avenues where couples stroll past monuments that recount chapters of the nation's cultural evolution. Leaving the capital, the trip continues through a countryside dotted with small towns and villages. Rustic homes with tiled roofs and spacious gardens sit beside orchards and vineyards that stretch across emerald foothills. Horses pull carts along quiet lanes, and tractors move between fields as farmers cultivate wheat, barley, and sunflowers. The fertile soil of Moldova has long supported agriculture, and many families produce their own wine, cheese, and preserved fruits. The air is fragrant with the scent of blossoms in spring, cut hay in summer, and fermenting grapes in autumn when harvest time arrives and villagers gather to celebrate abundance. The land is shaped by rivers that wind between meadows and woodlands. Meadows bloom with wildflowers, and storks nest atop wooden poles, watching over grazing cows and goats. Forest paths lead to streams where anglers cast lines and hikers listen to birdsong. In autumn, the hillsides turn shades of gold, amber, and crimson as villagers harvest grapes for winemaking. The process is laborious but festive, with songs, storytelling, and shared meals. Clay jars and barrels fill cellars as the new vintage quietly matures, ready to be opened during winter gatherings when families toast to health, resilience, and good fortune. Culture in Moldova flows from a mix of influences shaped by Romanian roots, Slavic traditions, and echoes from Ottoman, Byzantine, and Balkan neighbors. Folk music fills festivals with fiddles, accordions, and voices singing in harmonies that express both joy and longing. Dancers in embroidered costumes spin across wooden stages while villagers applaud between bites of grilled meats, savory pastries, and cabbage rolls. Religious celebrations bring the community together as church bells ring across cobblestone courtyards, drawing worshippers into sanctuaries lit by candles and decorated with vivid icons. Family and faith remain pillars of continuity that bridge past and present throughout the countryside. The food of Moldova reflects rural abundance and culinary ingenuity. Markets sell fresh cheeses wrapped in cloth, herbs bundled in twine, and stacks of bread still warm from village ovens. In homes and restaurants, soups simmer with vegetables, dill, and poultry. Plates arrive with stuffed peppers, roasted eggplant, or cornmeal mush served with sour cream and cheese. Wine accompanies nearly every meal, often alongside jars of pickled tomatoes and cucumbers prepared during the summer months. Desserts highlight honey, walnuts, and plum preserves that evoke memories of childhood kitchens, family holidays, and seasonal celebrations marked by music and generous hospitality. Traveling east, the Dniester River marks a region known for both history and resilience. Fortresses from medieval times stand on elevated cliffs, once guarding trade routes and defending local principalities. Stone walls overlook the flowing water below, and guides recount stories of battles and diplomacy that shaped the area. Fishermen launch wooden boats into the current, while children skip stones across the surface. The riverbanks are lined with willows, reeds, and sandy patches where picnickers enjoy summer afternoons shaded by tall trees. As the sun sets, the river glows with reflected hues of amber and violet while herons glide silently toward their roosts. Transportation across Moldova ranges from intercity buses to private minibuses that shuttle locals between villages and towns. Trains roll through farmlands at a measured pace, offering views of forests, vineyards, and churches with brightly painted roofs. Roads weave through undulating terrain where drivers share space with farm vehicles and occasional livestock crossing the asphalt. While the infrastructure reflects both progress and challenges, movement remains steady, carrying residents toward schools, markets, and workplaces. Beyond the populated regions, nature reserves preserve wildlife and ecosystems shaped by the climate of the steppe and the forests of the Carpathian foothills. Deer, wild boars, and foxes roam beneath canopies of oak and beech trees. Wetlands attract migrating birds that pause to feed along their routes between continents. Wooden observation towers allow naturalists and tourists to watch herons glide over lily-covered ponds or to photograph butterflies perched on reeds. Sun rays sparkle on calm waters, and the rustle of reeds adds texture to the sounds of frogs and insects that flourish in the marshlands during warmer months. The people of Moldova exhibit hospitality rooted in family bonds and agricultural heritage. Guests are welcomed with generous platters and heartfelt toasts. Conversation flows easily as elders share folk tales and young people describe hopes for education, travel, and careers. In small workshops, craftspeople carve wood, weave textiles, and produce ceramics decorated with motifs inspired by nature and folklore. Rural traditions coexist with modern aspirations as cities expand with new buildings, technology firms, and educational institutions. The blend of old and new remains central to the country's evolving identity in a rapidly changing world. The landscape contains archaeological and historical remnants that reveal ancient settlements, medieval monasteries, and princely courts. Monasteries built into rock formations create dramatic scenes where stone arches frame the sky and courtyards echo with monastic chants. Bell towers rise above the cliffs, and pilgrims climb steep paths to reach sanctuaries adorned with frescoes. The spiritual silence of these sites contrasts with the bustling rhythms of contemporary urban life elsewhere in the country. As night falls in the countryside, stars illuminate quiet farms and vineyards. Crickets chirp, and distant dogs bark from behind wooden gates. Lamps glow through windows of rural homes where families gather for supper and storytelling. In cities, lights reflect off wet pavement after evening rainstorms, while couples dine in restaurants that serve fusion cuisine inspired by both local and international flavors. Bars and clubs host live music and dancing late into the night as conversations shift between art, politics, and dreams for the future. Seasons shape the journey through Moldova. Winters bring snow that blankets rooftops and icicles that hang from wells and fences. Children build snowmen and slide on frozen ponds while wood smoke rises from stoves that warm kitchens. Spring arrives with blossoms that cover fruit trees and carpets of green that emerge across plowed fields. Summer delivers bright skies, long days, and festivals that celebrate music, food, and harvests. Autumn returns the vineyards to their most dramatic hues as harvesters gather grapes and prepare wines that sustain community ties throughout the colder months. Throughout the country, modern technology interlaces with rural life. Cell towers stand near wheat fields, and tractors guided by GPS cultivate broad plots of farmland. Young entrepreneurs develop startups in shared office spaces in Chișinău, tapping into global markets. Schools and universities educate the next generation of Moldovan scientists, engineers, artists, and scholars who contribute to the national conversation on identity and progress. The country's diaspora maintains emotional ties through visits, remittances, and cultural events that reinforce bonds across continents. The journey concludes with appreciation for a nation defined by its vineyards, traditions, and resilient spirit. Moldova may not broadcast its charm loudly, yet it captures the imagination of visitors through authentic hospitality, natural beauty, and historical depth. The combination of music, cuisine, spiritual heritage, and agricultural landscapes lingers long after departure, leaving memories of a land where time slows, soil nourishes, and culture endures. Moldova also welcomes travelers from abroad with guesthouses, boutique hotels, and guided tours that explore rural settlements and vineyard estates. Cycling routes follow quiet roads lined with orchards and monasteries, while kayaks glide across reservoirs bordered by forests. Stadiums host football matches that gather energetic fans, and urban gyms promote new sports among young residents. Airports link the country to foreign cities and ferry visitors who come to taste wine, discover heritage sites, and experience local customs. Border crossings manage steady flows of buses and cars as citizens travel for work and trade. Gift shops sell handmade souvenirs crafted from wood, clay, and textile, allowing guests to bring home reminders of their journey. Travelers depart with lasting impressions of Moldova's warmth and rural charm. Authenticity. Indeed. Thanks very much for watching this video. See you in next video. Bye.